is going to be asked to give input, and then there will be some madman which will take some Excel table with hundreds of entries from different people and compile them into a unified document. Similar it goes for the innovation working group, because there have been a lot of discussions, so they are collecting input. So information on how to send input is on qt.eu, all the addresses. As you know, until now it was Thierry Debucher. In the next round it will be Rogier Verberg, and as well as Yves Samson in charge of that. And so we are going to create an innovation working group report. And, hopefully, and the last talk by Thierry is also about making available a list of stakeholders and, how is the landscape of industry stakeholders which are involved here. And, of course, impending is that transition between the current coordination action QSA and the next one QFlag, but hopefully you will not notice because the team is already very integrated and the website is working already in this sense. Once again, it will replace the older website qeurope.eu with the same functionality and added functionality there, okay? So this is what is going to be done in the next coordination action with the TNO and COR, Rogier Verberg and Philippe Chomas and Yves Samson working on that. So, well, an activity which has started here. So here I am finally able to show the results of this poll that was done online by Araceli Venegas Gomez during the presentation. And, well, I can see that there is some imbalance, yeah, as was claimed, but also I would say that overall this seems slightly less imbalanced, at least in perception, which I'm not sure it is a good news, because it seems to indicate that we all agree that our situation is a very bad one. And now it's time for acting, expanding the working group, and really starting with specific measures how to support, enhancing the gender balance in our community. Networking people, really getting more people engaged in that. Also on this, we will use the website in a way that I will describe in a moment. A major novelty also of this conference has been that there has been this physics education community coming in and having their own workshop. And this, I would say, was very successful in the sense that, well, not only they described what are the measures that would be needed, and those are, strategically, there are, addressing high school teachers and pupils at the same time, and also university, both in terms of training for future careers in quantum technologies, but also in terms of making, like industry quantum aware, for instance. And also there are, challenges, which is, how you make it not only based on the volunteering of these people which are doing this work, but how do you make it work throughout the different countries? Because, of course, education is something which is under the competence not directly of the European Commission, but of individual countries. And all of this has converged during the discussion, so this is really something which emerged from the workshop. We didn't foresee that in advance, but it emerged that there is a need to get resources for these people to keep on going and working on this, which is also very much on the advantage of the flagship itself. So we were able, after the very last minute, to try and feed into the current discussion for the last few years of Horizon 2020 to put some money. So I have some hope that we might be able to get some money for a coordination action on that. And of course, this will connect to our coordination action, but it will be specific on the aspects of education. So the idea is to turn the expertise and wisdom and energy of these people who met here into really a pan-European network of possibly pilot programs, offers, connecting also to industry needs, and really an education strategic agenda, so to say, for the next framework program. So in this process, they are preparing a position paper, which, comes from the Oberkochen, starting from the open questions that were raised in the Oberkochen paper, and then, going through the outcomes of the workshop that was in Vienna, and also now, and again, I will show you how you can contribute for that. So here is a nice pink QR code, which you can photograph, and it will take you to that web page, and we are building that. So what will you find on that web page? You will find PDF copies of short reports from each of the strategic research agenda, innovation working group, gender and education working groups, and with a request for input on a Google form-like format. So everybody will be able to see what everybody else has contributed. So there will be a form. You will download the document and say, oh, I want to add this, I want this in a different way, and so on and so forth. And everybody will be able to see all the time what everybody else has suggested. And then some poor people will have to take all of these hundreds, hopefully, of comments and turn them into an updated version, which will then feed into the search agenda and be given to the Strategic Advisory Board. So this is everyone's opportunity to really, write down what you want and make sure that the documents are changed and fed into the flagship governance. And this will be organizing this will be the task of the next coordination action. Now, here is an example of one activity of which I hope there will be more. I am personally engaged in this activity, which is why I'm advertising it here. It is a workshop on quantum simulation. So there are details on how we will do that. But again, so the intention, this is 2 months that we will have in Vienna. Everybody is invited to apply for that. In a few weeks, there will be a website for that, which we will communicate via the Eqtc.eu website. Why am I saying it here? Because we are discussing strategic research agenda, and there are several topics which are still open. For instance, in the field of quantum simulation, some aspects about, how do you define a quantum advantage for a quantum simulator? What is benchmarking for a quantum simulator? Quantum advantage is well defined for quantum computers, much less for quantum simulators. So what we want to do is to have an extended discussion, and we will have it also in cooperation with some of our US colleagues, because quantum simulation is not so much a strategic, security or sovereignty type of aspect. So we are going to have conversations with them. And what we want is to come up with something like a Vienna Treaty on quantum simulation, like some, joint position on what should be the future, and this will also feed into the whole process. So everybody will be invited to apply for participating there. So the next coordination action is coming up. So again, this is based, of course, on the participation of everybody here and outside of this room. So please take this as the new Europe. We know there is a certain habits and inertia in, where is my Europe.eu mailing list, How am I not getting 5 emails a day, which I will not even read from this mailing list? But, it gives me some sort of good feeling, I get withdrawal syndrome if I don't get that. But never mind, you will get overwhelmed, nevertheless, by emails, only they will have a different address. It will be qt.eu, because now we are going to unify everything there. And, among the tasks of the new coordination action is to maintain that website, grow the community, prepare the research agenda for the future, and again involving infrastructure, industry, and also education in all of this discussion, and especially working also in the direction in terms of industry towards use cases. Okay, so all of these aspects are in the tasks that the next coordination action has, and all of this is going constantly to be developed in big events such as this one, in which the whole community comes together. We could call it a quantum flagship general assembly, in the sense that really the quantum flagship is, of course, the flagship funded projects, of course, the Quantera projects, but also, all the national initiatives, as we know, also the different other institutions at European level. I'm thinking of JRC and others, European Patent Office, CENELEC, and so on and so forth, which have been involved here. So all of this brought together to make a stronger initiative, including with meetings. So we will have a few meetings. The next events, so as Marcus has announced a couple of days ago, we are going to have soon a call for applications for people who would like to organize the next year's European Quantum Technology Conference. There are going to be 2 presidency events. As much as in Vienna last fall we had an event with the Austrian presidency, we're going to have in Helsinki this fall an event with the Finnish presidency. It will be important to have that, because it will be the moment in which really the budget is going to be discussed. So how many billions do we get, really? And so it will be very important to make a strong case for that to happen. And the year after, we're going to have a German presidency event, which is going to have a specific twist, among other aspects, about, new generation, younger generation, what we call a quantum academy, which was, with a pilot experience, quite successful. We did it last year in Ulm and Stuttgart. This year is going to be done in cooperation with France, and next year it should be something which has a European dimension. And I would say that this, I look very much with optimism to that, because there is a correlation between early stage career researchers, which are younger, and there is a higher percentage of women in there, and so really supporting that is also one of the ways to address the gender balance in our community. So of course there is a strong invitation for all of you to get there, and since I have 2 more minutes before this section is over, what I want to do is, of course, to conclude by thanking people. And of course, I have a long list of people in the Eqtc Scientific Committee, which I am not going to read aloud. You can find it on your thing here. But I would like to ask the people who really are the main heroes of this conference to stand up and join me on stage. So the conference organizing committee. First of all, of course, Yves Samson and Anna Minguzzi, who have been chairing that. But also, in alphabetic order, Daniele Binosi, Hervé Courtois, David Holden, Mediam Halla, and Rob Thew. So I would like just to solicit a very big round of applause for these people.
So just to say thank you for you all for being here. And
very good. So please do not go away yet, because I also would like to call upon, so this is not only my last appearance as coordinator of this legwork undertaking here, but there are other people who did a lot of legwork in the coordination action. One of them is already on stage, which is Daniele Binosi. One of them is probably not going to be on stage because Rob Thew, I called upon him, but he disappeared. Maybe he was hijacked, kidnapped by pirates, or a meteorite struck, I don't know. But we have other people like Thierry de Bucher, whom I would like to invite to join us on stage. Thomas Strom is also not here. Do we have other of our... And Frank Wilhelm, of course. So Frank, where are you? Frank exists? No. Frank is, again, so he also was probably, killed by a passing truck. So that's too bad. Sorry? Exactly. The region seems to be very dangerous around here. But again, I would like to ask for a sort of... No, don't do that yet, otherwise it is too much. Before we do the final round of applause, let me call upon the future coordination action. So the other, by now, members of the Flashy Coordination Office. First of all, of course, Marcus Wilkens, the new coordinator of Qt Flag, but also Claudius Klein from VDI. And whom do we have here? So Rogier Verberg, I think he has gone to the king. So yesterday he was speaking to the king of the Netherlands, so he is not here. Now, whom are we missing from our work package leaders? So Philippe. Chiara, Philippe, of course. Oh my goodness, how could I possibly? Oh my goodness. And then Chiara also disappeared. And then whom do we have? Sorry? Lydia, oh my goodness, also Lydia Samarti is not here. She will be in charge of education and outreach. So I think that the survivors are here on the stage. So we are lucky that there are some of them. And so I would really like to ask you for the strongest round of applause for all these people here. And then see you in the future, because since even with quantum mechanics we cannot violate causality, okay, the only way is that I will see you in the future.
I think before we go, we should also give a big applause to Tommaso for all his work he has done in the past, right?
So thank you to all. So we have time now for lunch, and maybe taken either on site or taken away. It is prepared in this way, so feel free. Bye.